Reverend Don Lewis coming to you from beautiful St. Louis. And first, let me say that the winner of last week's viewer's favorite question was Horrible from Casamondo. Congratulations, Casamondo. Although I will say that most of the questions had some support, and as happens many weeks, it apparently was a hard choice for people, but Horrible was the winner. And to start this week, we have a question from Magenta. And that question has to do with the stereotype of witches being all dressed in black. And Magenta remarks upon having noticed that this stereotype does not fall too far from the truth, and that many magical people that she knows have a tendency to either wear all black or some black in their outfits. And she wants to know why this is, and whether there's an actual magical benefit to this color, or whether it's just a social thing. And my answer to this is going to come in several stages. And the first stage is that I'm not entirely sure that it's really true that people in the magical and particularly the witchcraft community wear more black than anyone else. I would argue that if you were to look at a random crowd of people, you would find that the vast majority, particularly of women, will have some black in their outfit. And all black outfits really are not uncommon. Black is a very, very popular color in contemporary society and has been for many generations. So I would argue that part of this is cultural, and that the predominance of black in the costumes of many pagan people and many magical people is not really that far from the wider society. And there are a variety of reasons why black is a popular color. One is it's considered to be fairly formal and sober as a color. Another is that it's very respectable as a color. Another is it's considered slimming as a color. And another is that it is widely regarded as being able to be mixed and matched with anything, making it a very practical color for clothing. And for all these reasons, there are many, many clothes produced in the color black. And pagans and magical people, like everyone else in society, are likely to buy them. However, having said that, it certainly is true that people in the magical community do often have a preference for the color black. And there are several reasons for this. And one of them, I think I can illustrate with a little story. Many years ago, I was watching a talk show, and it may have been Phil Donahue, which will tell you just how many years ago it was, but there was a panel of pagans, and an idiot in the audience, and I call them an idiot because their question shows a lack of critical thinking, and I'll explain why. But they said to the people on the panel, "Why do you dress in the color of evil?" And the people on the panel had various rather weak answers to this, in my opinion, but I remember thinking even then, and I was very young then, that what I would have said is, well, why don't you ask a Christian clergy person why they dress in the color of evil? Because, in case you haven't noticed, black is the standard color for clergy in the Western world. And many people in the magical community consider themselves to be clergy of one kind or another. Some with legal credentials, some with only spiritual credentials. But very often they will consider themselves a priest or priestess. And what colors do priesthood wear? And the answer to that question is very often black. Everything in Western society conditions people to think of black as a clerical color. So if you think of yourself as a priest or priestess, very likely it will be a color that you will gravitate towards for that social reason. And if you think about it, Roman Catholic priesthood most commonly wear black. Protestant priesthood, particularly when I was young, but even still today, very often also wear black. And they wear it for, I'm not really sure what their reason is, but it is institutionalized in many people's minds as a clerical color. Also, in the academic world you see a lot of black. In the judicial world you see a lot of black. It's a very formal color. So people who are taking that role of clergy will often tend to wear black without even necessarily having thought of this connotation, but nonetheless having made the connection at a subconscious level. So those are some of the reasons that people in the metaphysical community often prefer black. Now, having said that, I will also point out that people in the metaphysical community could just as easily be said to wear more colorful clothes than the wider community. And if you were to describe people in the metaphysical world as tending to wear bright colors and loud combinations, and particularly tie-dyes, That would be just as true a stereotype as the predominance of black. I just spent my weekend at the St. Louis Pagan Picnic, and I must tell you, there were a lot more tie-dyes and brightly colored clothing than there was black. So again, I don't know that the stereotype of magical people dressed all in black, while there is some truth to it, is really the predominant stereotype of our people in reality. Now, the other answer to this question, however, is that yes, there is actually a magical virtue to the color black and to most other colors as well. Every color has its properties, and it will tend to influence your energy. In the case of the color black, it's protective and grounding. And particularly when a person is first starting on their spiritual path, if they're working with energy, if they're working with spirit guides, etc., grounding is very, very important. In fact, grounding is always important. But when you first start, it's good to have help, and the color black will help you ground. It will help keep you grounded. And that might be another reason that people often prefer black. Even if they don't know about this, they may nonetheless feel it at an innate level, because you can tell when you're grounded and when you're not. And they may simply feel that they feel better wearing the color, but this is why. It will tend to ground you, and it can also be worn for protection. Other colors have other properties. Red is very good for energy, for example. And you will find that if you work with colors in this way, it really does have an energetic effect. And again, in the case of black, it's primarily grounding. And you'll notice that an awful lot of things in the metaphysical community, whether we're talking about pagans, magic users, psychics, etc., a lot of things come down to grounding. And a lot of traditions really do not teach grounding nearly as much as they should, and so it comes in through the side. But it still has to come in because you have to ground if you want to have a good experience. So if you're having trouble grounding, consider wearing black. I had a very good friend in the Chicago area by the name of Robin Lochurko, one of the best psychics I've ever known, and if you have a chance to get a reading from her, I highly recommend it. But many years ago, she was known for keeping her hair very, very short and changing the color constantly. And you could be at a 3-day psychic fair, and one day she'd be a blonde, one day she would be a redhead, and one day she'd be a brunette. But usually it wasn't that quick. Usually she would keep one color for a matter of weeks or months, and every spring it would be jet black. And I discussed this with her once, and she said that the reason she would dye her hair black in the spring is that her birthday came in the spring, she was in Aries, and she often found it harder to ground at that time of year, and the black hair helped her to do so. So this is something to consider in terms of the power of color, the use of color in metaphysics, right down to the color of your hair, whether natural or otherwise. And one of the reasons so many pagan ladies like to dye their hair red, which you may have noticed, could also be that red gives energy, and red hair gives energy, and it can be a very nice booster to one's natural energy. So these are my thoughts on the subject. I hope you find them helpful, and until next time, may you blessed be. Pray for peace. Pray for love. Pray for stability. Pray for the nation where you live. Pray for the world. Hello, this is Reverend Don Lewis coming to you from witchschool.com. Are you looking for the best in pagan and magical education? With more than 12,000 pages, witchschool.com is like having your own personal library with individual learning assistants to help you study. And Witchschool's Anyone, Anytime, Anywhere education system is available any place on Earth, anywhere you are and anytime you want it, as long as you have an internet connection. Witchschool's lifetime memberships are a great value. They really do last a lifetime. They've been there for years and they'll be there for years to come. So get your membership today at witchschool.com.